Hey there, Josh. How are you today?
Good. How you doing, Amanda?
Very good. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on trust and authenticity. Last time we chatted, we talked about marketing and like building awareness and why it's important to build trust and authenticity super early. But now that you've got them hooked, how can you build trust and authenticity in the sales process? And what does that look like? So I'm excited to chat with you about that today.
I'm excited too. I mean, sales is definitely more my comfort zone than the marketing side of things. I tried my best. We think we had a couple good things in there too, but this is definitely more my comfort zone and the customer facing roles here. So,
Absolutely, me too. So, the first question I wanted to ask is why is it important to build trust and authenticity during the sales process?
oh, the nice thing about this one is probably very, very self-explanatory too, right? But definitely a very big believer that the reason people buy in general is because they love the company that they're going to work with, they love the product, and they love the person they're working with. And I
Hmm.
think those are three of the biggest areas where we can actually make growth and just really selling exactly what we're looking to do. So I think trust in the sales process not only gives your buyer the belief that this is something that could help them in their company, but it gives their executive team that same belief too. So I think trust is something that can very easily make or break any conversation you're having too.
I love that too. And the next question I'm excited to hear your response to, but like what happens if a brand misses the mark and they like do something that's not very trustworthy during the sales process?
Well, the nice thing is too, that's probably a little bit self-explanatory, but
Yeah.
I think if you miss the mark, like when you break trust, like it's very hard to come back. The old age old saying, it's very hard to make a first impression twice, or I
Yeah.
probably butchered that too, or the second attempt at a first impression. That's what I was going for. Um, but I definitely think if you ever do miss the mark, it probably means that you've killed that opportunity
Yeah.
because it's very, very hard to come back from that if we're a little bit too pushy, maybe at times in that
Hmm.
sales process too, or we just lose that trust from initial champion because everybody has goals they're trying to meet. Everyone has a budget they have to work within. And if you aren't that best solution for them, the one thing, especially in the MarTech space, there's thousands of companies that can help within very similar KPIs
Yeah.
that they can speak to as well. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like if you do anything that's shady or makes a prospect feel like they can't trust you, especially in our industries, like we're kind of a dime a dozen. And so, you have to not lose them and keep that going. And I also think that if a salesperson loses trust or comes off as like not being very authentic during this part of the process, like that's how they're branded as a person.
well, I think
So
even worse than that, that carries over to the company itself.
yeah, for
I
sure.
remember one of the things that Bill Belichick talks about, if you're a football fan at all, is I'm pretty sure it's Bill Belichick at least, but it's never disrespect the program because
Yep.
nobody sees you as a football athlete in this case or a Vidyard sales rep. They see you as Vidyard, and your actions mimic your brand as a company too. And I
Hmm.
think that's the biggest thing with it because it's not Josh Kirkham, it's a Vidyard sales rep from that instance.
Oh,
So
for sure. You're right. And they don't remember your name, but they remember who you work for and who you represent for sure. So here's another question. There are obviously brands that do really well with this and excel in it. So tell me about some of the brands or companies that you've seen really build trust and authenticity in the sales process.
um, a lot of them that come to mind are more in the B2C side of things. To be honest, I know
Mhm.
Apple is one that you and I were actually talking about before the call today as well. I know we mentioned Google. Maybe they're scapegoat ones too, because of these big brands that a lot of people mimic down the road there as well. But I've even seen other teams just do an extremely good job of it. One that comes to the top of my mind is actually one of our clients, Media Valet, just in terms of how they're helping communicate within their sales process too. And mind you, they are a featured case study on Vidyard's website, which is how I got familiar with them in general. But selling a very complicated product to a very tough space. But one of the things that they do very well as a bit of a smaller team is really build trust in that process through all the various stakeholders they need to have
Mhm.
conversations with. And I think they're one that I know off the top of my head that I think do a very, very good job of building trust in that sales process that they move forward to.
That's awesome. And some of the ones that I've seen be really successful and impactful. I've seen kind of twofold. Number one, just a thank you video. Thank you for working with us. Thank you for your interest or introing to somebody else on the team. But also, like even an impact video. Like if we move forward with this, this is what it could mean for you. This is what it could. And if it's a nonprofit, This is how it can impact the community. This is what it can do for the world. Just to kind of help follow up with that. And um, obviously, like you're with Vidyard, we're talking about video. You can write things out, handwritten cards, emails, they're the best. But if a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many words is a video worth? Like way more than you can actually even say in the video. So
100%
impactful.
And I know one of the things that we speak to with our sales team all the time is that whole idea of champion selling, right? After you get off that first call, how can you make your champion's life as easy as you can to communicate internally and helping to stop that game of broken telephone? Because especially in distributed workforces, we understand that C-suite executives are getting involved in more decision-making processes as you move forward. But their calendars didn't get any lighter. So how can we make it as easy as we can for our champions to communicate the value of whatever we're trying to buy internally to these C-suite executives that might only have 5 minutes to understand what the product is, understand the value it's going to give, and then say yes, no to continue that evaluation too.
100%. That's a really good point. Absolutely. I know we've already kind of been talking about this, but what are some of the best practices that you have for this building trust and authenticity in the sales process?
I really believe, and again, I'm going to be biased. I work for video, so I'm going to talk about using video here too. But I think it goes back to a lot of things that you mentioned as well, Amanda. So one of the best practices that we always talk about is sending an intro video. So before you're having a conversation with somebody, whether it's a reminder video or anything like that, but putting a face and name, maybe grabbing a nifty whiteboard with their name on it, however you wanted to do it, just to say, hey, Amanda, really excited to talk soon. My name's Josh. This is what we're going to talk about. If there's anything else you'd like to discuss, please let me know. And just building that trust right off the bat. So they knew who they're talking to. They know the sound of your voice and maybe some of the quirky mannerisms you have, turning that first date into a very second date relationship there as well.
I love that.
One of the other ones I've always loved is sending follow-ups. And again, making it very easy to help our champions communicate the value of your product internally. Taking that legwork off of their end is a very good way to build trust when you say, hey, Josh, this is exactly what I care about. And this is what my boss is going to care about. And I'm like, no worry, Amanda. I got that. I'll send that all over to you. Making it easier on their end is a great way to build trust too. And then the other one that you mentioned was the handoff process. If we are fortunate enough to bring them on board, they're part of the family now. How do we make sure that they know exactly who they're going to be speaking to next and help build that relationship, just to kind of build that full cycle of joy, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, as you're moving forward through that customer relationship too.
I love that. And one of the things I personally find really helpful when I'm trying to build trust and authenticity in the sales process is, and oftentimes it is via video or it's on a call, is I'll try to say, these are the things that I'm worried about, maybe won't work great with here. These are the things that I think that you're going to push back on, because it shows that I'm not trying to like pull one over on them, that I'm aware that there might be challenges that we have to overcome to work together. And it just then opens up a really good conversation into like, okay, is that real? So we really need to talk about this. And what does that look like? I think it's awesome.
That's a great point. Pulling out risk is, I guess, how we call it internally too. And it's a fantastic way to use it too, to help get that alignment throughout your sales cycle.
Absolutely. Josh, it's been great to talk about sales. Next, we have something fun coming up too in our next episode is the delight process or the customer care process, and really why it's important to continue to show up with trust and authenticity. So episode 3, that's what we're chatting about.
Episode 3, very excited.
All right, we'll see you later.